there, it's none of my business. I know, but I couldn't help but notice. Looks like psychosis. Life on relationship road. What's going on over there? It's none of my business. I know, but I couldn't help but notice. Looks like psychosis. We live on relationship road.
Simon in flat number 16 has finished moving in, and he can finally take stock and sit down and relax. He has completed the first week in his new job and is beginning to feel that all will be fine at work. This is a huge deal for Simon, as he is the first black lawyer in the firm, and this is a new town to him and now also a new home. He can't help notice that he hasn't seen any other black faces in the town, and he has a few concerns that life might be difficult if he doesn't fit in. There has been a lot of media interest and support around Black Lives Matter of late, and although he is 100% behind the statement and what it represents, he also knows that it can stir up great hostility among some people. He hopes that this town isn't going to be hostile. So far he thinks that the local people are mostly curious, but it still feels uncomfortable to be different. He was in a city before this and he didn't quite feel such the odd one out in that environment. Still, he reminds himself, the firm knew he was black when they interviewed him, and then they offered him the job. So he can only hope that the rest of the town population will be that open. Just as he is making a coffee, there is a slightly timid knock on the door. He opens it to find Molly standing there with a plate of cupcakes. "Hello," she says briefly. "I live in the flat below you, and I thought that maybe you were a bit more settled in right now, and it might be a good time to introduce myself. I'm Molly. I brought you some cupcakes that I baked this morning. If you like cakes, that is," she adds hesitantly. "You know, just kind of a welcome to the block kind of thing." She begins to look rather apprehensive. Simon rescues her straight away by saying, "That's really very kind of you, and yes, I love cake. I'm just making a coffee if you want to come in and join me." Then, grinning broadly, he adds, "I don't think I should eat all of those lovely cakes on my own." Molly smiles back and accepts his invitation. She is surprised to see that Simon's flat is really tidy with lots of brightly coloured cushions. Why should she be surprised? She doesn't really know. But her rather limited experience of men so far has been that they are pretty messy creatures. Simon immediately gets out plates for their cupcakes and offers Molly the choice of 3 different teas or a coffee. Molly can't help herself saying, "You're very well organised, aren't you? It took me weeks to get that settled." Molly and Simon chat easily for the next half hour until Molly leaves with her empty plate. She has plenty to tell her grandma on her next visit. Alice is feeling hungry and frightened. She isn't sure where she is or how she got there. She trembles with the knowledge that she has left the house without her handbag, and so she can't quite remember where she lives. Peter has made sure that she has her address and his phone number in her handbag at all times, just in case of an emergency. She frets about her handbag, muttering to herself over and over, "Where's my handbag? Where's my handbag?" Alice had been sitting in the comfy chair looking out the front window when Peter had gone into the back garden. Then, as had happened before, she saw a man with a little black dog, which had curly hair and a white tip on the end of its tail. Alice had become convinced that it was her childhood dog Dinky and that the man had stolen him. Then, without thinking, she got up, opened the front door and went after the man and his dog. She followed them a little way to the end of the road, where she saw the man tie the dog to the fence outside the corner shop. Alice had waited until the man had gone inside the shop, and then she untied Dinky and started walking away with him. Alice then tried to find the road where her home house had once been, but she became hopelessly lost. The more lost she became, the more stressed she was. Then she seemed to realise that she had left her house without her handbag and became fixated on that. Now she is hungry, tired, cold and frightened. Alice doesn't know what to do and she begins to cry. The little dog begins to pull on his lead and so she lets him lead her. Thankfully, the little dog seems to know where he's going. All she can do is pray that he is taking her home. Paval from flat 18 is back in his shop working as best he can. Everything has opened up again, but he now has to have sanitizer by the door and he has put stickers on the floor to indicate the distance that people should stand apart if they are waiting to see him. He rarely has more than 2 people in the shop at any one time, so he thinks he will be able to control the flow of people. He also has an assistant who helps him 4 days a week. They get on really well together and they have been out running together most days while they were in lockdown. Now they see each other 4 days a week in the shop and usually on one other day they go running together. Paval often confides in his friend. Thank heavens he has him, he thinks. He would have gone mad without his support these past few months. You seem to get it, Tom, but I can't make Kasia see that she is being unreasonable and selfish, Paval tells him during a quiet moment in the shop. She goes on and on about going home to live. She seems obsessed with being near her mum and she's not thinking about me at all. Maybe you're being a bit hard on her, Paval, says Tom cautiously. I mean, if she wants to start a family, I suppose it's only natural for a girl to want to be close to her mother. We're nowhere near starting a family, says Paval. We haven't even got the deposit for a house yet. I know, says Tom calmly. I'm just trying to see things from her perspective. That's what makes you special, says Paval, putting his hand on his friend's shoulder. You always try to see things a different way. Then very quietly he says to his friend for the first time, I don't think we should have got married. We've known each other forever and it just seemed like it was our destiny. Hesitantly he says, we just want different things now. I didn't know this would happen. I don't want to hurt her. I do love her, you know. I know, says Tom quietly, looking away from his friend. Just then, the shop door opens and their conversation has to end. When they do get back to speaking at the end of the day, it's Tom who takes up the conversation. Paval, why are you so against going home? Is there something back there that you just don't want to face? Paval looks shocked and perhaps a bit hurt. Why would you ask such a thing? He says indignantly. I've told you everything there is to know about my home and my past. It's just that there's nothing for me back there. My family are totally dysfunctional and all they do is fall out. Why should I want to live amongst that? Anyway, a visit more than once or twice a year is enough. I'm just checking, that's all, says Tom. I just wanted to know if there is another reason that is making you want to stay here. You know why I want to be here, says Paval, looking directly at him. Then he adds, the business is going really well at the moment, and I can only see it building further. Even during the lockdown we were getting inquiries online. And as you know, we are always busy with funeral cards and other memorabilia. Tom seizes the opportunity to say what has been on his mind these past few months. He thinks he might not get a better chance. Might there be another reason why you want to stay here? He asks, pointedly, looking directly at Paval. The two friends have been skirting around this for some time now. It's been like a dance, where they have both been totally in step with each other all the way, but never totally committing or putting it into words. Each man fears what the other might think, and neither wants to destroy what they have. Paval hesitates. He knows that this is his opportunity to tell Tom how he feels, but somehow he can't. He can't even admit to himself yet. He asks himself every day, several times a day, how can I feel anything more from my friend than friendship? I'm a straight guy and so is he. I'm married for heaven's sake. I've only ever been with girls and have never had any inclination towards men. Anyway, I don't want to be gay and I don't want to be bisexual either. My parents would die of shame and it might even kill my mother, who isn't well anyway. I just want to be like I was, but I really want to be with Tom. Somehow we click and I think I could live with him more happily than I'm living with Kasia right now. I wish I'd never met him. Finally, he says to Tom, "Well, you know how much I would miss you and our friendship." But he has hesitated too long before he spoke. They look at each other briefly and then Tom turns away, thinking to himself, if Paval can't admit to feeling more for me than friendship, then how can I move forward? However, Tom is also struggling with his own feelings for Paval. They are new to him. He had felt quite connected to another lad when he was in school, but since then he has only ever dated girls, and although his parents are very open and living with another man probably won't be an issue, he's not so sure about his friends, many of whom he suspects might be homophobic. Tom thinks to himself, on the plus side, I don't have a steady girlfriend, so there is no one to hurt if I make a life with Paval. But I've met his wife Kasia, and she seems like a lovely lady and I can see that she adores him. I expect that's what he's thinking too, but it's worse for him now that he's married. The whole thing is just so complicated. Perhaps we should leave things as they are for now. Come on, time to lock up for the day, says Paval, breaking the heavy silence that has grown between them. Sure, says Tom, getting his keys out. You're running tomorrow as usual? Yes, says Paval. See you as usual at the track. Okay, see you tomorrow, says Tom, walking the other way towards his car. Both men prepare to drive home, Tom to his empty flat and Paval back to his wife. If you have something you would like to share or a concern you would like addressed, please send it in and we will try and incorporate it into the future storylines. Tune in again for the next episode of Relationship Road.
Welcome to Relationship Road, where people live just like me and you, alone or together in all kinds of weather, and most of them are scared of this flu. What's going on over there? It's none of my business, I know, but I couldn't help but notice it looks like psychosis. The pressure's starting to show. What kind of neighbor am I? Am I doing my bit for the road? My parents are elderly, my children disorderly, the whole world is suddenly slow. What's going on over there? It's none of my business, I know, but I couldn't help but notice it looks like psychosis. The pressure's starting to show. And if you need me, let me know, and I will be the first to show. What's going on over there? It's none of my business, I know, but I couldn't help but notice it looks like psychosis. The pressure's starting to show. The future, well, nobody knows, but we'll do our best till then, I suppose. I've got my friends and my family, no place that I'd rather be. I'm learning to go with the flow. What's going